Hey, everybody. Happy Sunday. It is June 27th. I'm Ed Carbajal for MMANews.com. Make sure you're following MMANews.com and the MMANews.com YouTube channel for where videos like this live, along with interviews done by the wonderful James Lynch. Currently, we have interviews with Cyril Gahn, who won last night, Max Griffin, Thiago Moises, and Alan Baudou. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, but if you like stuff like that and videos like this, make sure you click the bell notification, thumbs up button, like and subscribe for the MMAnews.com YouTube channel where videos like this and those interviews live. Check out the website, MMANews.com, for all your MMA news and results, which we are about to go over. Heavy combat sports weekend from the weekend that we just had. And if you like the stuff that I do for everywhere else I do it, you can follow me on Twitter at Carbazel. That's my Twitter handle on the bottom there. And let's just get right into it because there's so much to go over. I mean, talk about a heavy combat sports weekend. If you're a fan of the Professional Fighters League, we've got all the results up from everything of note, I guess, on the website here. There's all the results from everything we're about to go over, with the exception of the BKFC stuff, which I'm going to touch on because I interviewed a couple of the fighters on the podcast that I do. And, Pearl Gonzalez made her debut last night and won a decision. So let's get down to business, shall we? So Professional Fighters League, I mean, I can't say this enough about what's going on with that promotion. And I know we had a news article up earlier in the week that was from Joe Rogan's comments on how he doesn't like the how he doesn't like the rule set and stuff like that. I mean, I disagree with him there because I happen to really like it. I think it's probably the most fair of the entire sport because everybody seems to have an even chance to do something of significance in the sport of mixed martial arts. So, excuse my eye scratching. I got bit by a bug last week. Speaking of last Sunday, I know there wasn't one last Sunday. It was Father's Day. We didn't do a Sunday submission, so happy belated Father's Day to all the fathers out there. I brought my pops breakfast, and that's why this didn't get put up. But anyway, let's look at these results. So one of the things, obviously, this was a firefight, but the thing that I want to touch on the most is if we get to the favorites that everyone thought was going to advance and make it to the playoffs. Lance Palmer's out. Anthony Pettis is out. Shockingly enough, I mean, especially the Pettis one, only because the where are we going here? We got a lot of clips on here. I'm just trying to get to the point where here we go. I mean, it's this fight right here. Raush Manifo. If you didn't know, I mean, anyone that got into this and was following on the, they picked up Fabricio Werdum, Anthony Pettis, and Rory McDonald. So UFC Bellator fighters coming into the fold. And it's just like a blank slate when you get there. And this proves it. He was a favorite. You can see the odds right here from the DraftKings tail of the tape. Pettis was the favorite. And not for nothing, Pettis didn't look bad to me, I'm not sure, I know he was ill. This was supposed to be the first of the June events. He was supposed to be on that card. So there could have been something there. And he's not one to make excuses. I'm not going to make excuses for him. But he definitely it's not the Anthony Pettis that we were expecting in the Professional Fighters League, But I mean, he's not losing horribly. I mean, it's a decision is usually an opinion. You'd be remiss to say that this one didn't go the right way. I mean, we'll look at this clip here just to see how aggressive Manfio was against Pettis. I mean, he dropped him. I was just about to say he dropped him a couple of times where Pettis looked hurt, but I mean, he never stopped fighting or defending himself. It went to the end of the fight, but I mean, he didn't rack up any points. He lost to Clay Collard, and then he lost to this gentleman. So that's it for him. His chance at the $1 million unless something happens, I think if you check the Professional Fighters League rule set, unless something significant happens, I believe he might get called back to replace if something happens with somebody in training or COVID with everything else going on. Maybe we'll get him to somehow get him back. But, a lot of people are making comments like, oh, the PFL probably didn't. They know exactly what they're doing. Their point is not to hype up. I mean, I know if Kayla Harrison loses, and sorry, Kayla, for me just bringing up the scenario because I know how she gets. But if Kayla Harrison loses, it does nothing to the brand. It's just of the promotion. It's the fighter that it is an individual sport at the end of the day, which is something cool. When Clarissa Shields picked up her win, that she kind of hinted at when she talked about the how she fought and how she got her finish. It's just one person versus another. But I mean, the true season sports format that the PFL does, I can't help but things like this happening with Pettis and all the stuff happening. It's just proving that this is a really honest format for competition. The whole thing, you win, you advance, you lose, you go home. That's pretty much the only things that matter here. And speaking of that, you can't Cindy Danduis was a veteran. I mean, Kayla dominated the fight. She's definitely strong. It's the only lightweight, at least in the United States, the only lightweight 155 division we know she can make 145. She's proven to be pretty dominant at both when she stepped away to fight Invicta. Let's just look at some of her handiwork here. I mean, once it got to the ground, it was just pretty much the armbar was right there. I thought she was going to go for it sooner, but not for nothing. Harrison probably, the mindset of when she fights, I think we'll see the finish in this next clip. When right there, see, she was circling around because she knew, she was so aware of where she was. She didn't want that extension there. If she did it with her back to the cage, she would fall back against the cage. And as we saw in the other clip, she was spinning her around to get to the submission. So that was a great quick 6 first round. You get 6 points. So she's definitely in the playoffs, so that was it for the regular season. PFL moves forward in August with the playoffs. Their residency is in Florida, Seminole Casino, Hard Rock Casino in Seminole, Florida, whatever it's called. But there was a lot of Bruno Capozzola, another knockout. I mean, this was more in line with what I expect from the PFL with the finishes and the knockouts. When we had a few decisions, I'm trying to find this. It's too bad we don't have the clip of Gennett Fabian's knockout of Julia Pacic. But yeah, man, I mean, Lance Palmer, 2-time PFL champion, and he's out. I mean, I don't know if it was because the PFL took off for COVID or what have you, like why that became, maybe that's a factor, because guys like Palmer, anybody that came from like a wrestling, they need to be doing something. Look at Kayla Harrison. I mean, she was at the point that she was ready to walk, and that's why I don't know why that wasn't extended to Lance Palmer, but maybe he didn't want to do it. I mean, everybody's on a different page when it came to what happened with the COVID-19 situation. And it's weird because it's like, it's almost hard to talk about the way people are acting, the way things are going on. It's even when I'm talking about it, I'm catching myself and saying like, it's not really over, but a lot of people are acting like it's over as far as COVID-19 goes. So that was the Professional Fighters League. I mean, there's a full results again up at MMANews.com. I just want to get back to that was Thursday. So we move into Friday night, and big news out of Bellator on Friday before Bellator 261 even began. So October 23rd, Fedor Emelianenko will be returning to action. Why that's a big deal, you may ask, as I speak to the demographic of MMANews.com. Fedor is probably one of the greatest heavyweights in mixed martial arts, especially coming out. If you've ever watched Pride Fighting Championships coming out of that, there's a couple of good documentaries out there if you want to watch. If you're unfamiliar with Pride and you want to watch it, I would check out this Life and Times of Mark Kerr, the Smashing Machine documentary. And if you're a UFC Fight Pass subscriber, you can watch all the entire library. They have it all there. Coincidentally, there's a box to my right here that I have. I actually have all the DVDs because that was back in the day, and those pay-per-views were like $25-$30, if you can remember that. But so Fedor was like the man back then. Like he's pretty much what Khabib was to a lot of folks now, but Fedor was that guy back then, and at heavyweight. So that's the reason. And in recent years, yes, he's lost, he's been knocked out, but he's still able to put a lot of notable fighters away. So he's returning to action on October 23rd with TBA, was the press release from Bellator said, to be announced opponent. And it's their first. They're going over to Russia. And I forget the name of the stadium that they're doing it, but it's up. But we have the article up at MMANews.com. That announcement came Friday morning. Then Bellator 261 happened. They crowned an interim heavyweight champion in excuse me, in I just want to say his full name, Valentin Moldavsky. It was a Fedor protege, where he defeated Tim Johnson through a unanimous decision. Not for nothing, Johnson looked. If you watch that final fight, there's bloody Johnson screams at him during the fight. But Valentin Moldavsky is the champ there. But before I bring up the results and stuff, back to the Fedor news. So that was kind of like the news cloud over the event. Like you couldn't help but think about it, especially when you have one of a Russian. Now we have an interim Russian heavyweight champion at Bellator. So one of the things that seemed to, of course, everybody wants to know, okay, Fedor's coming back. Who's he going to fight? So, of course, when Scott Coker gets to the post-fight press conference, that's the first came up a few times from a few people that were present and dialed in through Zoom as far as who Fedor fights next and what are the options. And Coker said that all the free agents that you would think of, Junior Dos Santos, Alistair Overeem, Josh Barnett, all the like heavyweight free agents were already hitting him up to step into the cage. I mean, because just to name Fedor versus somebody of else that's of popular, it's going to draw, it's going to draw numbers, both viewership, ticket sales, wherever, hopefully when they get there and the COVID situation doesn't do anything to jeopardize it, because when Fedor did his interview at the thing on Friday morning, he said he was ready to get back in there. So, excuse me, take a sip of coffee. Delicious. So the one that seems from what I'm looking at, the of those names mentioned, the most interested man ready to do it, and what better place to do it in Russia? Josh Barnett. Scott Coker said Josh Barnett was texting him not long after they had that press conference that he wants that fight, and then he even doubled down when they were putting all the promotional stuff out on social media. He doubled down and was like, what did he say? I know I shared the tweet. Let me see if I could find it. I was gonna write the article for here, but somebody beat me to it. It's a day old. Hold on, get into it. Something like works for me or something to that effect. I don't want to waste too much time looking for his tweet, but just he's already putting it out there that he wants this fight. And if you look at a lot of the longtime fans, folks that cover the sport, anybody that's followed the career of either of Barnett and Fedor, that's both of them fought in Pride. Both of them, have a following. It was actually one of the fights we never got to see in Pride of all the names. If you look at, especially this was, the Pride era was Fedor's prime, and maybe even Josh Barnett's prime, if you want to say that, because they're both very good at what they do. 2009, Affliction. If anybody remembers the Affliction promotion, that fight was supposed to happen. California State Athletic Commission, nixes it because if you know anything about Barnett's history, unfortunately, he's popped for anabolic steroid use, and that's why they wouldn't license him or let that happen. And Fedor wound up fighting somebody else, I forget who, but that's a fight that we never got to see. It's something that Barnett probably, if you're in this sport and you continue to fight in it, it's because you want to keep on testing yourself. These athletes want to keep testing. These fighters want to keep testing themselves, and it seems to be for Barnett, from what I'm looking at, one of the things that it's just like he has to check that off his list. I never got to face this guy. There's guys that you never thought would see happen with it. I mean, in my opinion, the fight that would have been great. I mean, Randy Couture just got over some heart issues while everything, before COVID started, I think that was. But I always wanted to see Randy Couture versus Fedor, but that's probably not happening. We got to see one of the greatest talkers in MMA before he hung up his gloves against Fedor Emelianenko and Chael Sonnen when he fought Fedor, and I was privileged and honored to actually be in Madison Square Garden covering that for another outlet. Fernando, who was there with me, who was MMANews.com, he was there for MMANews.com. I was there for another outlet, but Fernando and I were present. I think it was that one. Fernando will probably correct me later, but it's just one of those moments that you never thought you'd see in combat sports. And so the fact that he's still around and the sport is where it is now, I don't fault Josh Barnett for wanting it. And how do I say this without sounding like a dick? Maybe testing in Russia is a little bit more lax, right? And I don't see the fight getting canceled outside of something COVID related if they can get that done. But I mean, although Alistair Overeem's also good, Junior Dos Santos, I mean, not for nothing, just because if you look, I mean, I feel like I know Overeem re-signed with Glory, if I'm not mistaken. But if he does an MMA fight, I would hope the kickboxing, because one thing I feel like Alistair Overeem's output hasn't been what it used to be. He became more of a counterpuncher. I guess that happens to everybody with age that's a striker. They start counter. We saw Crow Cop do it, and then suddenly he started kind of picking it up again before he had his issues where he had to retire from fighting. But somebody whose output to me hasn't really stopped or suffered too much is JDS, and I think that's probably of those names, that's probably the most dangerous fight for Fedor is JDS. So from a competitive aspect, that's the one I'd like to see. From from a fan aspect, any of them are good. I'm on the side of having Josh Barnett do it just to kind of get that off the list. But I know my co-host Matt Hawkins is probably creaming himself over Fedor news. But anyway, so that was Bellator 261. Let me just bring up the results really quick because I talked a lot about the Fedor news. Moldavsky, as I said, new interim heavyweight champ. So if you recall, I wrote the article way back when Bellator came back. This interim fight happened because Ryan Bader is still the champ, but he has to he's in the light heavyweight tournament, which has got him locked up. So one of the questions that Coker had to address was like, you're not done with the light heavyweight tournament. You have this interim champ. Chances are Bader's not going to fight Moldavsky anytime soon. And Coker said, that's right. We're probably going to have him defend this interim title. So it's certainly going to be interesting. And Liz Carmouche, for everybody talking trash about Liz Carmouche and how she grinds out victories, she she picked up a first round knockout over Kana Watanabe. I thought the fight was going to be more competitive. Kana Watanabe is bending frying pans over there in Japan and stuff. Like, I thought it was going to be more competitive. I didn't expect Liz Carmouche to come out. I was expecting, and I like Liz Carmouche. If you watch her fight, when she fights Ronda Rousey, that fight almost went her way. There's a point where she takes her back and is cranking Rousey's neck, and if she didn't get shook off, history of MMA might have been a little bit different. So don't sleep on Liz Carmouche. What else? There was a really nice on the prelims. Where's that 10-second? Isaiah Hokit. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. That knockout, if you haven't seen it, it's all over Bellator's timeline from that Friday night. I'm surprised it's not on here. It might be on here. Let's see if we got it on here. We got some highlights on here. Oh, yes. Oh, Corey Samuels. So it looks like somebody needs to correct the website. My mistake, but boom, boom. Look at that. 10 seconds. He actually just threw the same combination again when that happened. My apologies for reading off of the website here with the that's got to be flipped around. But 10-second KO, that was beautiful. That was beautiful. Woke me up when I was watching it. Let's get back to and then Saturday, early UFC for folks unfamiliar or did it. I was out. Unfortunately, I couldn't watch it. I was out and about Saturday during the day. I do my own training, help out my folks and stuff like that. So I had to catch the rebound and the highlights and the results here up at MMANews.com. So Cyril Gane picks up the win against Alexander Volkov by decision. I actually thought Volkov could pull it off. Again, you heard me talk about Russia, Bellator, and all that stuff. I follow the entire sport, so I mean he's a tough customer, if you will. But it's nice when this outlet, James Lynch, gets the interview for this outlet, and the guy that we interviewed days before picks up a win. Pretty good stuff, man. I mean, I'm never unhappy with the result of a fight. I just, you can't not be a fan when you're watching this stuff, right? One of the fights of note from the prelims that I was super happy. There's some nice highlights available of Julia Avila's submission victory over Julija Stolarienko. I'm sorry if I messed that up. That fight, she throws off like a 20 punch combination at one point during the fight. I don't think we've ever seen a better or more hungry Avila. Super emotional. She talked about how her gym closed down and stuff like that. I mean, Daniel Cormier kind of said what he said to her was something along the effect that sometimes it's these trials and tests in life that make us better. And she's proof positive of it. I've been following her for a while since she fought in Invicta. I mean, I big fan of hers. She's definitely somebody that's emotionally invested in what she's doing and her career and the things it does for people. So, I mean, she's gonna be something at bantamweight. I mean, I'm interested to see where they put her or where she winds up. Justin James, man, I like Justin James. We had him on the podcast, the podcast that I do, Coast to Coast Combat Hour. But I'm sure you've heard the news that he bet his entire purse on himself and he lost by split decision, which sucks because I mean, it's like commendable that you believe in yourself like that, but sucks that happened like the way that it happened. And then this fight with Andre Fili and Daniel Pineda to end in a no contest. It looked like it was going somewhere. You know what I mean? Like if you saw the highlight of the back and forth between that, it was definitely it sucks. But I mean, I know there was stuff. A lot of weirdness went on too with the fence grabbing issue, and there's. I don't know if that's because of the early time or whatever, because they're 3 hours behind us. So that started around 1 o'clock my time. So, in Vegas, it must have been like still morning. And then they went into the afternoon. I mean, it's a good thing because you get to still have a rest of the day when you watch an entire fight card. Because being an MMA fan locks up a good portion of your day if you're going to follow all the fight cards, right? So it is what it is. But definitely gonna have. This is a good place for me to say it. For all you UFC fans, we're gonna have a little bit of a lull in action as the 4th of July approaches. We had normally that's International Fight Week. Sorry, Gane versus Volkov. 10 seconds. 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 10 seconds versus Volkov. I just want to give you a good estimate of when to expect the next date. The UFC 264. So is the next it's the next pay-per-view, and that's not until July 10th. So you have a couple of weeks where you're not going to have any UFC action. This is the time that I say you should explore maybe a Fight Pass membership or start looking at Fight TV for some of the regional promotions out there, because where do you think these guys come from? All these stars that you follow. Cage Warriors at the end of July is going to be touching down on U.S. soil for the first time with a few events. And if you're unfamiliar with Cage Warriors, a couple of fighters from Europe came out of there. One of them you may have heard of goes by the name of Conor McGregor, who's headlining next week at UFC 264. Why don't we do a quick... Let's see how much time I have left. I got 5 minutes left, so I'm going to give you my quick picks for the main card of that. We usually do a predictions thing up at that week anyway, so I might change. That's my disclaimer. But let me get to UFC 264, Poirier versus McGregor. Come on, I'm not bringing it up here on the stream here. I just want to main events: McGregor versus Poirier. I'm going Poirier again. Although Conor McGregor is pretty good at when he gets a rematch, he seems to pull one out. This is in Vegas at the T-Mobile Arena too, so it's definitely going to make, with everything opening up and stuff. If you've never been in Vegas for a McGregor card, whew, I mean, first of all, don't worry about getting tickets, because unless you're part of the 1% Illuminati elite, you can't afford a ticket. But Gilbert Burns versus Stephen Thompson. I love that co-main event. Karate versus jiu-jitsu. That's like me fighting myself. Tai Tuivasa versus Greg Hardy. We know how that train goes with when Greg Hardy fights another notable heavyweight. It's always interesting to watch because Greg Hardy looks to disappoint and Tuivasa looks to put people to sleep. And Irene Aldana versus Yana Kunitskaya. That one I'm interested in. Big fan of both ladies. I'm leaning Kunitskaya, but I mean, I know Aldana's no slouch. And opening up the main card is Sean O'Malley versus Louis Smolka. Sean O'Malley, fan favorite, folks for the new generation of MMA fighters and fight fans and stuff like that. That should be interesting. I will do a Sunday submission because there's going to be other stuff going on. So don't worry, I'm not going to leave anybody hanging here unless something happens that I can't do it anymore. But I mean, I'm just looking at this card for UFC 264. Early prelims: Ryan Hall versus Ilia Topuria, Jessica Ai versus Jennifer Maia. This is the prelims, the early prelim. UFC Fight Pass, whatever you want to call them, ESPN Plus prelims. And then the preliminary card on regular ESPN, you got Carlos Condit versus Mac Griffith, Michelle Pereira, Nico Price. I mean, that's a pretty good one. That's a pretty good card if I do say so myself. I'm sure we're gonna have the press conferences and all the UFC 264 build up stuff leading up to the big fight card on MMANews.com. That week, again, it's usually International Fight Week, and that's always significant because on the business sense of, if you're looking at the business side of things, especially in MMA and the UFC, that's usually when significant things are announced and can happen. I'm expecting them to announce their own NFTs that week. I mean, a bunch of stuff. But, UFC 200, 2016 UFC 200, it was this time of year and that time of year that we have coming up. And that's when, we found out that Endeavor, back IMG, WMG, whatever, they changed their name to Endeavor. They bought the UFC. The July before that is when that chatter started. There was a fan thing where Dana White said that it wasn't happening. Then a year later, it does happen. I mean, not for nothing. Pre-Endeavor that week in Vegas, super good time. Whether you're a fan, media, whatever you were, it was almost like a fight party. If you're a fight fan, I mean, it used to be a International Fight Week in Las Vegas used to be better than it was. I don't know if this soon after COVID is the time to go. I'm on the fence about going myself. I would like to go, but that means I got to pack all this and bring it with me so I can do stuff from there. And with all, I don't know where we're gonna be at. I don't know who's going. I mean, I know some people are going and stuff like that, but it's a good time. Maybe next July will be a better time, but they definitely need to bring back some of that 2015 energy before the sale because the Fan Expo. I mean, just do Google search of Fan Expo 2015, and you'll see the difference between pre-Endeavor. So it was way better time, way better. But anyway, that's it for me. Thanks again for I'm a little 30 seconds over. Sunday submission. Make sure you keep it locked in at MMANews.com. Like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, click the bell notification for new stuff. That's the URL, MMANews.com. You'll see the popular colors, the yellow and the black and the white and the bzzz, bumble with the B, huh? And if you want to follow me on Twitter, follow me at Carbazel on Twitter for everything I do combat sports related. Oh, cool. Thank you, OG Graveyarder from the Twitch stream. I streamed this on my own Twitch. Yes, sir. It's actually going to be Wednesday. That's a comment for by Wednesday. We're doing Wednesday this week. Because the guest we have booked was able to do Wednesday, and Matt had an issue, so Wednesday this week. But thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. We'll catch you on the flip side. I'm tapping out. Peace.